Hello, welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be explaining code smells and why you should avoid them at all costs. Well, most costs. Code smells are somewhat subjective, however, in general, they are the way you code scripts. For example, let's say you've written a letter. One person writes a letter with the correct words, terms, and etc. Another person writes the same thing in general, however, they're using outdated words and words that don't make sense. That's essentially code smell. So let's take this for example of a spin. Let's say you had a script that, when touched, summons a part in the middle and makes a fade. Let's say that's a simple twist. So let's open the script inside the part. Let's open it up. As you can see here, we have a wait to yield. Yield basically meaning it just waits. That's basically the function name. So it waits until it finishes the wait for the amount of seconds. Once it finishes it, it will declare a player. The variable name is player. This variable points to game.players, which is a service. The service is players. I'll get to that later on. Here, this one, we can see a debounce equals false. Debounces are basically what stops code from working again, repeating, if the code is running. So let's say you have a code running, and then you touch it again. It'll run that again twice. We don't want it to happen. We only want it to run once while it's running, and then run again after it finishes. So that's what stops it from doing, well, that's what helps it to do that. So debounce, as you can see here. Essentially, if debounce is false, not debounce, then it'll make it true, so it is debounce. So that means if this line runs again, if we touch it again, this will stop it. So if it's debounce, then it will end it. That's the general gist. Now, we have a wait here to wait for that part, and we can declare the part. Well, we create a part and then parent it to workspace right afterwards, and then we change the properties as so. You can see here the color, the name, and then the position. And then right here, we're making it fade out till it's gone completely, as you can see here. And right here, we're letting the code run again after all that's finished. Here, if the part is touched, script.parent, this part here is touched, then it'll connect and make it run this function essentially with this argument that returns back. Now you'll be saying, what's so wrong about this code? Well, a lot of things. First of all, this is unnecessary. This wait, there's nothing that you have to yield for. So let's just remove that. Next, global variables. Global variables, which works as basically, yeah, you can declare a player as that, right? However, essentially, it works by making it to where, let's say this. Let's say you had a global variable inside here. Player equals that. As you can see, your global player is only being used in the closing function. And then consider changing it to that. And then if you change it here, if I'm doing it correctly, no, that's not it. Well, essentially, think of it as a container. Let's say you had a container right here, right? Right here, container. And let's say you had a player equals whatever you said. And then you have another container here that has something else. Literally. Now, what you could do is have this go to this container because it's a global variable. Now that does help you in some cases. However, if you're just like me, doing this in one script and doing this for only one part, local will be faster. It might be micro optimization. However, it'll speed up performance and is more advised to do so. Same goes for debounces. Any variable you declare, it's recommended that you make it local. So there you go. Now we can declare this local variable player as game.players. However, this will only grab the players if it's exactly named players. Think as this. So this part right here is the game. Now searching for the name players, but this gets changed, which is very rare, or if this gets manipulated some way, it will take more time to read it. What's more recommended is if you do game get service players. There you go. You're grabbing the service directly. So instead of finding the name, you're grabbing it directly from the game. Essentially you're grabbing it straight from the point. If this gets deleted somehow, it'll still grab it. This is general gist. Next we have function. Now, functions, think of them as variables. However, they have code inside them that is ran whenever this is called upon. So, taking that knowledge, we can make it also a local function. Now, the difference between a function, global functions, and local functions is that global functions can be called beforehand. If you make it local though, it can't. That's the general gist. You'll understand it. You can use it in some way, but generally, just keep it local. You're gonna declare a function in the beginning anyways. There you go. Now we can do script.parent, uppercase parent, because the parent, uppercase, is not deprecated. Deprecated means that a function that has been created by Roblox is now not being developed anymore and not being updated, meaning it's very close to being deleted. It hasn't been deleted yet, but it very much will be in the future when it does become broken. So that's the general gist. So we can change this touch to an uppercase touch, which is the connection to connect, uppercase connect. That's what a lot of people do for some reason, the lowercase connect, but uppercase connect is the non-deprecated version. And we can declare the function by calling it whenever the part is touched. Here we go. Now, I've seen a lot of people try to find, but this is what it's essentially doing. It's finding the root parts inside the character and declaring that as the player. However, NPCs also have a root part, meaning that if you add in a root part or a character, it'll still do the same thing. It will trigger the code. Now, in my terms, I wouldn't want that to happen, so I'll keep that at local player. Now we could just change this to players service to make that more easier. So we create the player by doing player service, not that, player service, and then you could do colon get player from character. What this is doing is it'll grab the character and get the player from the character, essentially in a nutshell. So the character will be hit.parent because let's say you hit the leg of a character. The leg will go back to the parent, which is the character, and the character will get the player. There you go. And now we can declare that this, if it's a player, then it will run the code. If it's not a player, then it won't run the code. That's essential gist. So this is more close to players. There you go, not debounce. Usually I see a lot of people do this, and debounce equals not false, equals false, or no. Now that does work in some general gist. However, it's more advised to just do this, not debounce, which is debounce equals false in the nutshell. That is faster, and plus it's there for a reason. And we can remove this wait here, because that's not necessary. So remove that. And you may be thinking, oh yeah, there's something wrong with this code. There's a lot of things wrong with this code. First of all, game.workspace. What we can do instead is game get workspace, get service workspace. Now that does also work, however there's a shorter version that I should do instead, and just that, which is workspace. It's short and simple, but even that is not correct at all. Because, think of this. You're creating a part, which is changing properties, right? Before you're changing properties, you parent it to workspace, and then you have to render the part in workspace. Then after rendering the part, you change the properties again, and then it has to render again. You parent it to workspace, you render it, you change it again, and you render it again. That's not needed. What you can do instead is create a part, change properties, and then render it in workspace. That's all you need to do. That will be faster for your game and performance overall. So simply removing this workspace and then declaring the parent, this part, the parent equals workspace, that in the end will work and it will be faster. Now let's get to this part. This part is I see a lot of people do this, but this is not necessary. What you have to do instead is just delete that first of all, and you can either do a tween or a for loop. Now I'll explain the tween first because that's what I prefer. So let's declare the service to tween service in the game get service tween service. There we go. And then as per usual, we get the tween service, and then we'll do create right there. So we're creating a tween. So let's make that as a variable. So part tween, let's just call that that. It's not necessary what you name it, but you have to renumber the name. So it's that, and then you have to declare the part that you want to be tweened, and then the tween info on it. So we could just do 1 second. And you may be noticing, oh yeah, you have to add this part as well. No, you don't. You have to add the stuff like that. It will automatically do it for you for default variables and values. Put another comma and add a table. The table will be the properties of the part, what you want to change. So you can change the transparency, you can change the reflectance. Essentially any properties are of the part. So let's change transparency equals 1, so that makes it disappear, and then we can change the reflectance if you wanted to into 1, so make it very shiny. So while it is disappearing, it's also getting very shiny in the end. That's essentially what's happening. Now we want to play that part tween. So we do part tween play. Now you may be asking, why does it have create? This is quite important to let you know. Essentially, you're creating an instance that is the tween. So every time you create a tween, you're creating an actual instance that gets stored in the game. Now you may be thinking, isn't that bad performance if I leave it there? Yes. This is not what a lot of people address. So what you want to do in this situation is do a part tween completed wait. What this will do is wait until, it will wait until the tween is completed. Once it's completed, it'll destroy it. So part tween destroy, and that essentially destroys the tween. Now you may be thinking, oh yeah, doesn't that stop this code? Well, yes it does. But let's say you wanted to run code that says that's doing that, so it's doing that, But then if we wait here, then it does that. So we don't want that to happen. So instead, what you could do is do a quarantine.wrap function. Now this is getting into more detailed stuff, but essentially what you have to think of is as it'll bypass what part of the code this is running. So it'll be a separate thread. So you can shove this right in there. Right there. And essentially that's what it does. Now people may be thinking, oh yeah, why can't you just do spawn? It does the same thing, function. And then, yeah. Spawn is essentially the lesser version of quarantine. It also yields. And it has some other issues that I'll link in the post below, and also I'll be explaining more below. So now we have this, so destroy it and then set it back. You can put that in there as well. Another fun thing, let's say you deleted too much. You can press tab to go back. Well, press tab to indent, as seen below. Right there. Now, this will run during this part. So once it's placed, it will run this, which you'll see. And then we can let's do a test. So tween finished. I was showing that. So it's doing that and tween finished. So what should happen is this prints first and then this prints second, because this takes a while to finish. Or if you're wanting to go simple, you could do a for loop. For I, which is the variable name, or you could do tween value or anything that's called anything, like literally. But I'll just do I because that's generally what you should do, or it's usually makes your code look more neat if you use the same value. Now let's do this as 0 because that's the starting value. So I will be the starting value, but that's also what's storing the value. Comma, and then the ending value, the value I want to end at, which is 1 because that's how long we want to do that. And let's do that at 0.01, which is the amount of increments. Increments. And then you can do and end. Do and then press enter to have the end there. There you go. You've done it. Now you can just do part.transparency equals I. This I will be changing from 0 to this much by adding this, or you can just make a subtract, but we're wanting to add it, so there you go. There you go. It will do that until it reaches 1. That is essentially this. This is essentially that, but less, and also less customizable if you think about it. But you can, you can do some pretty complex stuff with this. But yeah, both of these work exactly the same. But of course I prefer tweens because it's more smoother and allows for more customization, in my opinion. There we go. And we finished it. Now if we test it, play here, and we go into the game, as you can see here, it works just as normal. Right there. Oh yeah, you might want to destroy the part as well, because you don't want to create too many parts. So just do a part, destroy. After that, there you go. Now it destroys everything. There we go. We created a simple summoning parts. Next off is why I want to address something that I find a lot of issues that people do. This. So imagine these as code bricks, right? You're touching them. If you touch them, you get a youch. Simple gist. However, people do this. Now, let's say one of these errors, and that means all these errors. How would you fix that? Usually, maybe you would do is delete every single script, but you have to do this. Yeah, that won't work. Or you could do a for loop, but that's also unnecessary long. What you could do instead is something called collection service or for loops. Again, on all the parts. So let's just delete all this, and then let's declare a tag for collection service as kill part. I'll link a video tutorial on how you can get this part and get this collection service plugin, and how you can use it for actual kill parts. But this part, I'll just show you how you can just do simple touch print. So I'll click all these, shift, click, and then click the tag that tags them with the tag name, or essentially that. So there you go. All these are this, but base plate isn't. Base plate is something else. So there you go. Now we can go to server script service, open it, and add a script. Now you may be thinking, why put in server script service? First of all, although putting here does work, it's a high chance that it could cause issues. Server script service is meant for scripts on the server. Now the client cannot read this, so if the client was a hacker and tried to steal a script, it wouldn't be able to. It will be hidden. That's generally why people usually put scripts in here. Now, let's declare a collection service. variable. So let's do collection, and then we could do equal game get service collection service. There you go. Now we do collection, and then we could do, actually not collection, we can do a for loop with the collection. So for underscore meaning that is not going to be used at all, comma, part, which is the actual part, in pairs, and then we could do collection, get tagged, which is getting the tag, and put 2 commas, and then we declare the name of the tag. So whatever you name it will be what you'll be using. So kill part, and then go to the end and press enter, and you just move that do up there and press space. There we go. Now you got that. Now what you could do is do part dot touched connect function hit, and then you could do print youch, and then maybe youched, and you could maybe do a hit if you wanted to, and then you could do parent, and then we'll declare that as the name. So print youch. Well, it wouldn't have the comma because that's not part of the commas. Print the commas in the parentheses. So there you go, and then you could do, well, actually you have to add a space there, so that way it declares that, and so it'll be like that, and you could do, you know, my username. This is just an example. This is just a comment. It won't do anything, so it won't affect the code at all. So you can just put this anywhere, you know, but usually put it to where you understand. And then there we go, we got that. Now this will run on all these parts. So if you want to test it, go home, play here, and then we can test it. And as you can see, joining the game and then touching the part leads to you getting your username and then youched. As you can also see, since I'm moving it, it will also display what is being touched. So this part is touching the base plate, probably because it's touching workspace. That's pretty neat. There you go. Now, that is a very general gist. Now let's move to the client scripts. So as you see in this script here, we have players. Let's change that to local as always. Change this to local again because this is also not needed to be global right there. And I'd be thinking, oh yeah, it's finished, it's fixed. No, there's a lot of issues with this though, such as this part here. So we instead declare players as to game get service players. We could declare this as local player, and we could put this as players. So essentially, you're getting the service of players, and since this is a local script, which only local scripts have local player, you can declare the local player from players to local player. That sounded confusing, but you might understand it. And then we can grab the character. I'll just read them to uppercase because I prefer that. And then you could do local player dot character. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, this works good. You could just change that to local player to character. No, don't do that. This is unnecessarily unnecessary. You do not have to wait for it to load in. All you do, well, you have to wait for it to load in, of course, but you do not need this. Instead, what you should be doing is local player dot character added wait. This will wait until the character is added, or if it's already been there, you could do local player dot character. Actually, you can probably switch that around. So just do that. So put that at first. Do that. So that makes more sense for you guys. So if it doesn't have this, it'll read from this. There you go. You got the character. Now let's indent this because that's usually an issue I find people doing, that they don't indent code to make it more easy to read. But also, you may notice that this has a wait. And you'll be saying, oh yeah, that wait makes it prevent it from erroring. Don't do that. Just do while true, do wait. Or this already has wait, but essentially, just don't add a wait. That's not needed. Instead, if it's something that uses this, just do that instead, like that. Because this makes it slower. I'll explain more. Well, I won't explain more. There will be a post below in the description that'll explain the issues with doing that and why you shouldn't be doing it. So I'll just remove that and then declare the character and character. And of course, if you want to, if you're overkill like me, just do local root part equals character wait for child. So waits until it exists. Humanoid root part, because that's what's in all characters. So there you go. And then you just remove that part and paste it in. There you go. That should work as normal. And then we can go back to this code, or we can go to this code now. Now here's an issue I find that people do. They use Lightning as storage when there's replicated storage and there's server storage. I find that to be quite annoying. Replicated storage essentially is the client's storage that the client can use to communicate with the server as well. So if the server changes something in replicated storage, clients can also read that. However, things can be stolen in replicated storage. However, it cannot be changed by a client unless you give them a remote event to do that, in which case, I don't know why you would do that. Now, once that's finished, we can go to server storage. Server storage is a more safer approach. Server storage basically means it's on the server, it's storage, and the client cannot read this, so only the server can. So meaning this will be stored inside. It's meant to be stored. So instead of doing Lightning, we do server storage. So local server storage equals game get service server storage. There you go. You got that. And then tab this because we want indents. Get rid of the wait because as I said before, true do, and then do a wait instead. And then we can grab the part which is local part equals server storage wait for child. You don't have to do wait for child but I prefer it because I don't know. Don't do what I do. Important part right there. See, now the curve's that. Now we can just do part. But no, we don't need that as well because we could just do local cloned part equals part clone. Oh, yeah, part clone. There you go. Now just get rid of that, and then you could do local clone part. There you go. And then parent, and then into workspace. There you go. You finished your code. And that's the basic gist of how you can fix your code and make it more improved. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, peace.